If you've been living zero waste for a while and you're not sure which ways that you can advance, here are 15 ways that you can live zero waste in an advanced way. From making your own food to going car free to getting involved in politics, this is the ultimate list of zero waste swaps for advanced zero wasters. I have been focusing a lot on beginner swaps for a while, so sorry about that. If you are a beginner and you want more beginner ways to live zero waste, check out this video. But this video is for everybody. Everyone can implement any of these, whether you're starting zero waste right now or you've been zero waste for years. But I have gotten a lot of requests recently for advanced ways to live zero waste, so here we go. Hello everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all sorts of things zero waste, focusing on free, easy, and fun ways to live low waste. No, I talk a little fast, so there's a gear icon right down here where you can change the speed of the video. Anyway, this video is geared towards people who have found their perfect zero waste swaps, they have catered their zero waste life, they feel like they're getting into the groove of things, and they want to try something new. This list takes us a little bit above and beyond just the regular turning off the lights when you leave a room and using a reusable water bottle. Some of these will require you to do more time, more energy, more money, and some of them might be a little weird. So let's get into it. First is food preservation. Food preservation takes time and skill to master over time, but it's so worth it. But an easy way to preserve food right now without any knowledge or equipment is freezing it. The freezer is so underrated when it comes to preserving food. You don't have to buy any canning equipment, you don't have to read any books about food safety. You can just cut up your fruits and vegetables, put it in the freezer, and use it as a later date. I freeze sourdough. I freeze so much food to prevent it from going bad and ensure that I have food later down the line so that I don't have to cook as often. I have been loving using stasher bags when it comes to especially preserving fruits and vegetables, so brown bananas. If I've got some carrots that are about to go bad, I'll chop them up, put them in a stasher bag, in the freezer they go, and I'll save them for later. But another great swap is super cubes. I have yet to try them personally, but so many of my eco friends hype them up. These are specifically for meal prep, so you can prepare like an entire batch of chili, put them into single serving little squares in your super cubes, and now you have a perfect portion of chili or whatever you're making ready to go, preserved, no food waste involved. It's a great way to preserve food in an easy way. And this is really important because food waste in our landfills is one of the greatest emitters of greenhouse gases, and you can learn more about that right here. Or you could even take this a step further with food preservation and try a few different methods, such as dehydrating, which can be done in an oven, an air fryer, or even a classic dehydrator. I found a secondhand dehydrator once in Las Vegas for just $20 and used it so much. You could also try freeze drying. This is probably the most expensive and the most room taken up in your home, but there's a lot of hype around this right now, and it can be a very easy way to prevent food waste and make meals at home. Or you can try the classic canning. It is a very old method of preservation that can be done with just a few jars and a canning pot. You can go farther than that, but with some practice, this should be easy. Though this also takes up quite a bit of space, so it's not necessarily friendly to all sizes of homes. Keeping it in the food category, take this as your sign to start sourdough. This is for sure a low waste swap that I think anybody can do, but for me, I didn't try this until I was an advanced zero waster, and maybe that's the same for you. It can be really intimidating, don't get me wrong. I made a full video around a year ago that you can check out right here on my very lazy foolproof way to make sourdough. It involves no scales, no special equipment. I literally use my hand to mix. I use a bowl that I already have. I used a casserole dish that I already have. I didn't even buy a Dutch oven at first. I have since bought one secondhand and it really does come in handy. So yeah, if you want to make fancy looking, really pretty sourdough, don't follow my method. But if you just want to make sourdough because it's cheap, it's low cost, it's low waste, follow my method. It's very easy and it's tasty. It might be ugly, but she's tasty. But because it's so intimidating, my advice here is to just go for it. I put it off for years because I was worried. I thought I would mess it up. I thought I would do XYZ, but the worst case scenario is you waste a little bit of flour. It's not the end of the world. Best case scenario, you have a new habit and a new hobby. If you do want some equipment, what I would suggest that you buy is a Dutch oven. It does help the quality of the bread a little bit, and also a silicone baking mat so that you don't have to use parchment paper. I think the hardest part is the timing, especially the busier that you are. When I was just simply working from home all day, it was very easy to make sourdough, but now I have to figure it out like with my school schedule, and it can be a little bit tricky to figure out the stretch and folds and what time I should bake, what time I should start it so that way I can bake it before or after I get home from school. But simply, it just takes some practice. You'll get used to it. Moving on to energy. First is switching to green energy in your home. There's an easy way and an advanced way to do this. Let's cover the easy way first. And that is simply to shop for green energy providers in your area. Reach out to the energy companies, see if you can switch to their green grid. See if they have a solar option, a hydro option, a wind option, a nuclear option, and see if you can get off coal, oil, or gas. And who knows, maybe it's even cheaper than using fossil fuels. Of course, a more advanced way to do this is to get your own solar panels. This will cost a little bit of money, but there's a lot of incentives out there to promote more green energy. At least there was under the Biden administration. I think Trump is rolling back a lot of them, but also a lot of them are up to your state. So just because the national government says boo green energy, doesn't mean your state is saying the same thing. For example, I'm pretty sure that California still does a green energy like incentive. I think Las Vegas does as well. But check your city, check your state, check your county, and see if they will incentivize you to put solar panels on your home. This could look like giving you a tax cut. This could look like giving you a tax write-off, a cash bonus. There are many different incentives for encouraging people in their region to switch to green energy. So check that out, see if that's an option. And another benefit is they might actually buy energy from you. If you are creating too much energy that you are using in your home, where else can that energy be used? To your neighbors, and the city will pay you for that. So check out all of those options if you want to switch to green energy at home. Another way to reduce your energy usage is to give up your car. Yeah, you can give it up completely. That is probably the most advanced way that you can do it, but not everybody lives in a fully walkable or bikeable area, so you don't have to give it up completely. For example, I walk pretty much all the time now, but our car's already paid off. We thought it was a little bit silly to sell our car, especially because, we use it on the weekends. We use it for the occasional out-of-town road trip. So we still have our car, but we're probably about 90% car free now. And of course, if you live somewhere rural, it's probably impossible for you to give up your car. But instead, see how you can be a little bit less reliant on your car, such as carpooling with friends, carpooling with neighbors and coworkers, taking public transportation, biking or walking, working from home or going to school online, and things of that nature. No matter how you achieve it, this is a great way to reduce some emissions and live zero waste in a little bit more of an advanced way. I told you some of these were weird. Moving on. Let's talk about bidets and reusable toilet paper. A bidet was actually one of my first zero waste swaps, even as a beginner, and that was because I lived in Japan, where bidets were the norm, and I was like, I need one for my house. Once you try a bidet, there's no going back. And many people put off trying a bidet until they get a little bit more intermediate advanced in their zero waste journeys, and that's because it's just not the norm in the US. It can be seen as weird, it can be seen as gross. I can see why most beginners do not try this swap. I really love my bidet from Whisper, but we also enjoyed our bidet from Tushy as well. Whisper is cheaper, and I like the functionality of it. It's a little simpler as well. And if you want to be really, really advanced, pair it with some reusable toilet paper. You can do this by cutting up an old t-shirt and using that as a dry cloth, or you could buy something fancy from brands like Bodhi. If you're using a bidet, reusable toilet paper really is just to dry off. You're not going to be getting any waste on it in theory. I know it's definitely not everybody's cup of tea, but it will save you a lot of money, which we explored in this video, and of course save so much waste. While these are very easy swaps, it can take a while to get into the mindset of using them and may even take longer to convince the rest of your household to get on board. So start small. Start with a bidet. No one is forced to use it, and they will use it as they need it. Then implement reusable toilet paper, but keep the disposable toilet paper on hand. Again, no one will feel forced to use reusable toilet paper, but they will likely try it in their own time when they see that it's not weird. A couple more ideas for in and around the home, starting with catching rainwater and or gray water. Rainwater is very, very easy to catch without any equipment. You can just simply set out bowls, buckets, set your indoor plants outside when it rains to utilize that free water. Yes, this is perfectly legal in every single state. Now, some states do require you to report what you catch. For example, if it rains in Las Vegas, you're technically supposed to say, hey, I caught 5 gallons of water. But in most states where you don't have such strict water rights laws, you don't have to report it. You don't have to do anything. It's perfectly legal. I like that this does not require you to do any sort of plumbing, any sort of demolition, or buy anything. When we did this in Las Vegas, we also did this with gray water in Las Vegas. We would put buckets under the shower head, under the kitchen sink. This cut our water usage literally in half. Catching the kitchen water was a little gross, not gonna lie. But the water savings, the money savings, they made a difference. Now, a more advanced and maybe a little bit more of an aesthetic way to do this is by going through the plumbing. This will be a little bit more time consuming, a little bit more expensive. You can rework the plumbing to recycle the gray water within your own home to reduce water usage. And you can also get fancy rain barrel attachments to your gutters, both of which will take some time and some money, but it's not impossible and it can save you a lot of money. Sticking to the yard is to start a garden. If you have a yard, try a garden. It does not have to be big, it does not have to be extravagant. You can just start with one bed, a couple potted plants. Give it a go this year, and if it's a success for you, you can expand it next year. Besides, why spend all that time manicuring, fertilizing, mowing a lawn for there to be no use to it? Instead, make your lawn useful by planting food that you could eat. This will hopefully save you money, reduce packaging, and likely be tastier too. You could even sell surplus and also get into composting. I don't talk about composting in this video, but you can learn more about composting in this video. I consider composting more of a beginner intermediate swap/habit, so if you're advanced and you don't know how to compost, check out that video. For a garden, you also don't need a lot of materials. You don't have to buy garden beds. You can just simply plant right in the ground. A note, please do not plant mint directly in the ground. Mint is extremely invasive. Keep mint in pots. But you could also upcycle things like totes, old wood, tires, and things of that nature. You can even make your garden organic to further reduce pollution. Or maybe a garden is not your thing. Instead, our next one is to just eco-fy your lawn in some sort of way. Having a traditional lawn is one of the worst things that we can do for biodiversity. Traditional lawns are non-native plants. Mowing them also reduces how much water they can absorb. Mowing requires fuel. If you fertilize them, fertilizers are made from oil, and they are not great for the environment. Of course, do what you can. I lived in an HOA in Vegas, and we tried so hard to eco-fy our lawn, and they would not let us. So I know that not everybody will have the ability to do this, but if you can, here are some ideas. Stop mowing, or just keep the grass a little bit longer. Don't trim it so short. Longer grass will attract more bugs and animals and also help in flood prevention. If you live in the desert, consider replacing your water-intensive grass with rocks and or native plants. But also, I think everybody should be planting native plants no matter where you live. This is great for soil health, flood control, and providing local food and shelter to wildlife. Set up a bird bath and clean it. Not cleaning your bird bath can lead to the spread of disease among birds. Same goes for bird feeders. Clean them. Make sure that you're also filling it with seeds that are healthy for the birds and won't grow into invasive species. Plant pollinator-friendly plants to keep them fed and attract them. This is a huge bonus if you have a garden. More pollinators for your plants. Also, give the pollinators watering stations. It can be hard for bees, butterflies, moths, and other bugs to drink out of deep bird baths, so give them something shallower to drink out of. Build a bat box to help local bat population. Many scientists believe bats are keystone species, and they are very important night pollinators and pest controllers. Leave the leaves in the fall. If you have too many, compost them. Don't even mulch them if you can help it. Leaves offer nutrients for the grass and soil and also provide habitat for hibernating critters and bugs. And if you can help it as well, stop the fertilizer, stop the pesticides. Let's move on to some bigger community-focused actions. First, we're attending some town halls. Now that your home is eco-fied, it's time to eco-fy your city with your neighbors. So try a town hall meeting. Many of them are offered in person and on Zoom, at least my local one is. If you can't make it in person, you can dial in. You can simply call your city hall to see when meetings are and go attend one. These meetings will cover plenty of different things for your city, such as like school board, politics, how the city is spending money, and also eco-initiatives. They usually host time for comments, which can be your time to pitch ideas. Perhaps you'd like to see citywide compost services implemented. Pitch that. Maybe you want to start a volunteer crew to pick up litter. Pitch that. Whatever makes you passionate, take that idea and run with it. I think it would be a little bit more valuable if you had some friends with you who agreed with you, who could also pitch their ideas or similar ideas. Or also you could go around to your neighbors, say you're doing the compost one. Get a petition signed from all your neighbors. Look at all these people who want composting services. It's not just me. Plenty of people want it and will use it. And also highlight the benefits of it. Don't just say, I want compost. The end. Say, I want compost because of this. These are the economic and environmental outputs and benefits and why this will benefit everybody. If anything happens out of this, great. But if not, this is still a great way to make like-minded community, get to know your city a little bit better, and find people who are passionate about the same things as you. Another big action that you can take as any zero waster, but specifically an advanced zero waster, that is to write, call, and email your elected officials daily. Daily is a big ask. Believe me, I don't even do that. It's very difficult. But do it regularly. And this isn't just your mayor, this is our national leaders as well. This is your governor, this is your people who are sitting in Congress and the Senate, right? The White House even. Maybe some piece of climate legislation is going to be voted on soon. Call or write them and tell them that you would support these climate initiatives. Better yet, get your friends involved too. Yes, it matters that you call, yes, it matters that I write, but if all of us do it together, that's even bigger of an impact. Very similar to the town hall thing. Like if one person cares about composting, that's great, but the city's likely not going to implement that. If one person calls Congress about this one issue, they might not be willing to vote on it. But if hundreds, thousands of us call or write about these issues, they're much more likely to vote accordingly. It's not a guarantee, but I think it's much more likely that the more that they hear this, the more likely they will vote according to their constituents. You can learn about what's being voted on and who your elected officials are on congress.gov, and you can learn more in this video. You could also join or start an eco club or community. First, I suggest looking around to see what's available in your area. Maybe your school already has a zero waste club. Maybe your local community, if you're an adult not in school, already has a zero waste organization. Look first before you do all the hard work of creating one. Perhaps it's a climate cafe. Maybe it's a no buy group. Maybe it is a eco club on campus. Maybe it's a mutual aid group or something zero waste specific. For example, we have one here in my county called Zero Waste Humboldt. They host classes, they do cleanups, they do events, and all sorts of stuff like that. And if you don't find anything, that's your cue to do something. Someone has to start the group, so why not you? You could start a Facebook page with events or a website and start getting traction via other Facebook groups. For example, if I didn't have Zero Waste Humboldt and wanted to start something like that, I would create a Facebook group and pitch it on other Facebook groups I'm in, such as Buy Nothing Humboldt, Residents of Humboldt, and things of that nature. Surely some folks in there are eco-minded, and I will start to gain traction to my club, my page. You could also put up flyers at cafes, put up flyers at your local refill store, and then once you build that community, it's time to host some events. Maybe you host a clothing swap or a beach cleanup. Maybe you just simply host a talk at the community center about proper recycling. There are many ways that you could run with this, so find your passion and go for it. Something very popular in 2025 is doing a low buy year or a low low-buy challenge. This is one of the best ways to save money, boycott capitalism, and prevent a lot of waste. But of course, it's not for the faint of heart. Doing a low-buy, no-buy challenge is very, very difficult. It makes you confront your consumerism habits, but the rewards for your wallet and the planet cannot be ignored. Of course, during these challenges, you buy what you need: medication, food, rent, bills. You get the idea. The goal here is to reflect on your spending habits and to not impulse purchase or buy things that you don't really need. You can do this for a month, you can do this for a week, you can do this for a whole year. The biggest results come for doing it the longest amount of time. I would suggest doing it at least a month because that's how long it takes approximately for good habits to form. But I think if you went for a full year, you would really start to see those habits change and you will carry them into the future years. You will learn to make do with what you have, learn to repair, learn to shop secondhand, learn to trade, learn to borrow, and so much more. It is a great way to reflect on your spending habits and take care of the earth all at once. And if you want to learn more about breaking up with overconsumption, you can check out my free resource. It looks like this. It's on my website. I just finished it. Yay. All you need to do is drop your email and you will get it in your email. It's not necessarily how to do a low buy challenge. I have never done one officially myself, but living in an RV for 2 years, I have a lot of experience of buying strictly only what I need, really confronting my consumer habits and making do with what I have, living in such a small space. So that's what it goes over. It talks about voting with your dollar. It talks about overconsumption and all sorts of things like that. So go check it out on my website. A way that you can greatly reduce your grocery waste is by shopping at the farmer's market and the bulk store. Now, this is a very expensive one. Not very expensive. It really doesn't cost us that much more to shop at the farmer's market and the bulk store than our regular grocery store. But of course, it's not the cheapest option. And rightfully so. These produce less environmental harm, less exploitation. They're overall so much better for the planet, and that's why they cost a little bit more money. And that's why I put it in the advanced category. This also depends on where you live. We had like a farmer's market in Las Vegas, but it was mostly like craft vendors and it was on a weird day of the week. But here in Humboldt, we have a farmer's market every single Saturday. It is always reliable. There's always food. There's always crafts. There's always meals. There's composting. There's events. There's live music. It's so fun. All that to say, I have moved 8 times in the last 8 years. It's not always possible to have access to this stuff. Last summer, we lived in Minnesota. We didn't have either of these options. I hadn't been to a bulk store in nearly a year by the time I moved here. Kind of forgot how they worked. So make do with what you have. If you have access to this, definitely take advantage of it. So do what you can, but the refill store will likely help you reduce a lot of plastic waste from packaged nuts and rice and pasta and peanut butter, just to name a few. Even things like tea and spices and snacks can be found in the bulk bins. So take your jars to the store, but make sure you head to the front counter first to check their local rules, because everywhere's going to be a little bit different, just to make sure that you're doing it right and keeping these things in place for other people so that way you don't accidentally ruin it. While not everybody can go to the farmer's market or the bulk store, I think everybody does have the ability to shop small. Again, I put this in the advanced category because it does cost a little bit more money to shop small. For example, buying a plain product shampoo versus, Avena or L'Oreal, it's going to be more expensive to buy the plain products because they care about the environment and they're paying their workers a fair wage. Not to mention, it also takes some research. For example, a brand like Native Deodorant. You would think that that's a small brand. Nope. It's owned by P&G, a mega corporation. The other aspect of this research is, say for example, you don't have access to a small grocery store. Your only grocery store example is Kroger. You can still shop small within Kroger. Instead of buying blueberries from, Kroger brand, you can buy blueberries from this brand that I forget off the top of my head, but it is a family-owned small business. Instead of buying a can of beans from a big company that's a mega corporation, you can shop from Bush's Baked Beans, a family-owned small business. They're not necessarily small, Bush's, but they are family-owned. And if you're like, what does this have to do with the planet? You can learn more about why shopping small is so much better for the planet in this video. But in short, typically, they care more about the planet. They care more about their employees. They are not sellouts to these big mega corporations. And most importantly, I think they have the most leniency to take suggestions, right? If I were to write to L'Oreal and say, hey, I hate that you guys use plastic. It sucks. You guys suck. Your ingredients suck, whatever. They're probably not even going to read that email because of the scale of that company. And also, if I'm the only person who's saying that out of their millions of customers, they're really probably not going to take that into account. But if I reached out to, I'm just going to use plain products to keep it simple. I'd really have no qualms with plain products. But let's just say, I guess my one qualm is I can't use it on my blue hair. It does strip the color out of my hair. So let's just say, hey, plain products, I love your product. I love what you're doing. But unfortunately, your shampoo is stripping the color out of my hair. Is there any talks about moving to a color-friendly shampoo in the future? Again, there's no guarantees. I've always got an email back from these small businesses that I have emailed. I've gotten emails back from Pillowcase. I've gotten emails back from K&S period underwear. I've gotten emails back from Plain. Whether they implement what I suggest or not, they do take the time out of their day to listen to what I have to say, take it into account, and hopefully in the future, make that change if it aligns with their business and it's an eco-friendly suggestion. Lastly for today, this one is extremely advanced. That is to get a job and get a degree in the climate sector. This is quite advanced because it is a lot to, change a career, go to school, spend all that money on a degree. But if you're passionate about it, take that passion and turn it into a career if that's something that you're interested in. We need people working these jobs to ensure a safe and clean future. It's never too late to switch careers, even if you're an older person watching this. And if you can't afford it or you simply don't want to go through the hassle of changing your careers, that's fine. I've talked about this before in the past, and that is, if everybody were to go get a degree in climate science and we were to all become climate scientists, that would be kind of silly, right? We need people to eco-fi all industries. We need people with an eco mind in construction. We need people with eco ideas in the medical field. We need people who are making schools eco-friendly. We need people who are making the military eco-friendly. Whatever job you're in, take your eco passions, take your eco ideas, and eco-fi your workplace, eco-fi your field. I did this when I was in the military. I hated it, being in the military, because it was so conflicting with my morals about being an environmentalist. But that's not a job that you can just quit, so I had to ride out my 6 years and make it as eco as I could. I encouraged my coworkers to use reusable water bottles. I implemented recycling programs. I gave talks about recycling and composting and eco living. There are ways that you can take your wasteful job and make it more eco-friendly without having to actually switch your entire career. So do what you want with that information, go get a job in the climate sector, or simply take your job and make it more eco-friendly. But that is all that I have for today. 15 ways to live zero waste in a more advanced way. Leave the advanced ways that you live zero waste down below because I would love to make a follow-up to this video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If there are more advanced zero wasters in your life that would find value in this video, share this video with them as well. Because yes, it is great for everybody to use a reusable water bottle. It is great for everybody to switch to reusable grocery bags, but zero waste is so much more than that. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end. I really appreciate your time. I will see you in the next video though, but until then, remember that your small actions make a big difference in the long run. Bye guys. And see if you can get off coal oil. I do that every time. But there's a lot of incentives. That's the word. It's really dark in here. Sorry guys.